Remember, Your Majesty, your confession has just begun. After I wring from you a description of the methods by which you control people, I will force you also to give the formula by which your control can be broken at will. Your control can be broken at will. Your control can be broken at will. It is true I shall not remain here long enough to defeat you, but the published word I leave behind me will be deathless, because it will consist of truth. You fear the opposition of no individual, because you know it will be short, but you do fear truth. You fear truth and nothing else, for the reason it is slowly but definitely giving human beings freedom from all manner of fear. Without the weapon of fear, you would be helpless and entirely unable to control any human being. Without the weapon of fear, you would be helpless and entirely unable to control any human being. Is that true or false?
I have no alternative but to admit that what you say is true.
So for those of you who haven't seen my video, When or How I Defeated the Devil, it is on River Queen Conjure. But basically, it is the story of how I would have a recurring dream about the devil. For many years, until I was about 9 or 10 years old, the devil would be at the other end of the hallway, basically taunting me to move forward, basically trying to keep me frightened of moving forward, which is very symbolic. One night I had the dream, and in my spirit, I was being told to go ahead and move forward. I was asking myself, why is he not moving forward? If he's so bad and he can do so much to you, why has he never moved forward either? He just stands at the other end of the hallway, basically trying to scare you and keep you afraid to move forward. So I gathered the courage one night and I started to walk forward in the dream. And the minute that I began to walk forward in the dream, he turned from the classic red devil with the horns and pitchfork to a gesture clown, okay, which was very, very symbolic. Also, the more that I walked closer, the more and more transparent he became. And when I got within arm's reach of him, he disappeared, okay, which basically was letting me know that his power does rest in the fear that you have, which is what he just stated in this book. And that as soon as you lose that fear, he not only has no power, he fails to even exist in your world. Okay?
Now that we understand each other, let us go ahead with your confession. But before we continue, I may as well take time out to do a little boasting on my own account, now that you have had your fling at it. I will confine myself to one question, the answer to which will give me all the satisfaction I want. Is it not true that you control only the minds of those who have allowed the drifting habit to be fixed upon them?
Yes, that is true. I have already admitted this truth in a dozen or more different ways. Why do you tantalize me by repeating the question?
There is power in repetition. There is power in repetition. Power in repetition. I'm forcing you to repeat the highlights of your confession in as many different ways as possible, so your victims may check this interview and determine its soundness by their own experiences with you. That is one of my little tricks. Do you approve of my method?
You couldn't be setting a trap for me for the purpose of doing some more boasting, could you?
I am asking the questions and you are doing the answering. Go ahead now and confess why you are powerless to stop me from forcing this confession from you. I want your confession for aid and comfort to victims of yours whom I intend to release from your control the moment they read your confession.
I am powerless to influence or control you, because you have found the secret approach to my kingdom. You know that I exist only in the minds of people who have fears. You know that I control only the drifters who neglect to use their own minds. You know that my hell is here on earth and not in the world that comes after death.
So remember what I said about all is mind, okay? And think about the mind and the mental state of the narcissist, okay? So understand, if you know a narcissist and their thought patterns and the things that it causes them to do, they're vibrating very low, and they are all suffering some form of mental and emotional anguish, okay? So the narcissists, sociopaths, and psychopaths are the human hosts for this demonic energy. And if you look closely enough, you can see that their hell is happening right here and now on earth, okay?
And you know also that drifters supply all the fire I use in my hell. You know that I am a principle or form of energy which expresses the negative side of matter and energy, and that I am not a person with a forked tongue and a spiked tail. You have become my master because you have mastered all your fears. Lastly, you know that you can release all of my earthbound victims whom you contact. And this definite knowledge is the blow with which you will deal me the greatest damage. I cannot control you because you have discovered your own mind, and you have taken charge of it. There now, Mr. Earthbound, that confession should feed your vanity to the bursting point.
That last dart was unnecessary. Knowledge of the sort I've used to master you does not contaminate itself with vulgar indulgence and vanity. Truth is the one and only thing in the world that can stand ridicule. Now let us continue with your confession. What is wrong with the principle of flattery? You use it, do you not?
Do I use it? Man alive, flattery is one of my most useful weapons. With this deadly instrument I slay the big ones and the little ones.
Your admission interests me. Go ahead now and tell me how you make use of flattery.
I make use of it in so many ways it is difficult to know where to begin. I warn you, before I answer in detail, that publishing my answers will bring down an avalanche of ridicule on your head for bringing up the question.
I'll take the responsibility. Proceed.
Well, I may as well here admit that you have stumbled onto the major secret of how I convert people to the habit of drifting.
That is a startling admission. Go ahead with your confession, and stick strictly to this subject of flattery. No more side remarks and no more facetiousness for the present. Tell me all about your use of flattery in gaining control over people.
Flattery is a bait of incomparable value to all who wish to gain control over others. It has powerful pulling qualities because it operates through two of the most common human weaknesses, vanity and egotism. There is a certain amount of vanity and egotism in everyone. In some people, these qualities are so pronounced, they literally serve as a rope by which one may be bound. The best of all ropes is flattery. Flattery is the chief bait through which men seduce women. Sometimes, in fact, frequently, women use the same bait to gain control of men, especially men who cannot be mastered through sex appeal. I teach its use to both men and women. Flattery is the chief bait with which my agents weave their way into the confidence of people from whom they procure information needed to carry on warfare.
Well, first of all, Mr. President, I'd like to congratulate you on a really great World Cup.
But you are just so fun to be around.
Aw, thank you.
I'm having the time of my life.
One of the best ever.
Oh my gosh, you guys, the house is beautiful.
From what everybody tells me, one of the best ever.
You are the best.
And also for your team itself doing so well.
Please don't let this be the last
Oh,
time.
girl, let's take a laugh.
You promise?
Wherever anyone stops to feed his vanity on flattery, I move in and begin to build another drifter. Non-drifters are not easily flattered. I inspire people to use flattery in every human relationship where its use is possible, because those who are influenced by it become easy victims of the drifting habit.
Can you control anyone who is amenable to flattery?
Very easily. As I have already told you, flattery is of major importance in alluring people into the habit of drifting.
At what age are people most susceptible to flattery?
Age has nothing to do with one's susceptibility to flattery. People respond to it in one way or another from the time they become conscious of their own existence until they die.
Through what motive can women be most easily flattered?
Their vanity. Tell a woman she is pretty or that she wears clothes well.
What motive is most effective in harpooning men?
Egotism, with a capital E. Tell a man he has a strong Herculean body or that he is a great business tycoon, and he will purr like a cat and smile like an opossum. After that, you know what happens.
Are all men like that?
Oh, no. 2 out of every 100 have their egotism so thoroughly under control that even an expert flatterer couldn't get under their skins with a double-edged butcher knife.
How does a cunning woman apply her art of flattery in attracting men?
Great heavens, man, do I have to draw a picture of her method for you? Have you no imagination?
Oh, yes, I have imagination enough, Your Majesty. But I'm thinking of the poor dupes of the world who need to understand the exact technique with which they may be flattered into the habit of drifting. Go on and tell us how a woman can harpoon rich and presumably smart men.
This is a devilish trick to play on women, but since you demand the information, I am helpless to withhold it. Women influence men through a technique consisting first of ability to inject soft, cooing baby tones into their voices.
Oh, hi. Hi, Sheer 7. I'm back. Oh, that's so funny.
And second, by closing their eyes into a half-closed position, which registers hypnotism in connection with the flattery of men.
This is my new look. Do you like it? Do you don't like it?
Is that all there is to the business of flattery?
No.
You don't have to be weak. You can act weak. I mean, every woman can act, right? If I need something done, I'll act like, I don't know how to do this, you know?
Oh, that is only the technique. Then comes the motive a woman uses as a lure.
You get out of a bunch of work. You don't probably have to pay as many bills. And you're just like, oh.
The type of woman you perhaps have in mind never sells a man herself or anything she can give him. Instead, she sells him his own egotism. His own egotism.
I don't know how to do this, you know? Oh my gosh. Can you help me? Can you help me? Can you help me?
Is that all that women use when they wish to flatter men?
That is the most effective thing they use. It works when sex appeal fails.
You see a transsexual. You see a transsexual. You see a transsexual. It's very hard to tell. It's very hard to tell. It's very hard to tell because they look and act. They look and act so feminine. So feminine.
The key words here are look and act. So the drifter would be the man who falls for the look and or the act. They are not paying close enough attention, and therefore
they're getting tricked by men who dress like women.
So I am to believe that big, strong, smart men can be wound up and manipulated through flattery just as if they were so much putty? Is that possible?
Is it possible? It is happening every minute of the day.
I'm gonna go find somebody little and helpless so I can feel like a big, strong man.
Moreover, unless they are non-drifters, the bigger they come, the harder they fall when the expert flatterer moves in on them.
If you play dumb for certain things, do you know how far you can get? When I need a vacation, when I want to go shopping, when I want to do this, I know how to get it. I just like, you know what? Oh, that shirt looks so good on you. What brand is that? I'm telling y'all to act